AI is moving too fast for you to be like, oh, we're expected to release this in early 2026, and this is Q2 2025. If you're not ready to release that back Q3, early Q4 2025, you're behind the curve. You guys should already be on version 2 by then. You know what I mean? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co-host, DJ. Man, what's going on today, Deuce? What is
Hey,
going on?
man, what's going on? A lot of things have been happening, a lot of good stuff to talk about in tech, AI, and just everything that's been going on today in the world, right? So let's go ahead and get it cracking. One of the things I want to talk about, or we want to bring to the table, of course, is what's happening with Grok and Tesla, what's happening with Apple and some of their things. Also, we're going to talk about some search results that's been happening with AI search results in ChatGPT and the decline and the rise of those AI search results. What else? You got anything else for us, DJ?
Yeah, we also want to talk about some of the poaching that's going on right now in the tech
Oh,
industry, man.
that's
There's
right.
layoffs that's happening, but definitely there's poaching that's happening as all these shifts are happening. So I'm sure you guys have probably heard by now of some of the offers that people have been getting, and if you haven't, we're going to let you know. But let's just say it's crazy. I guess a lot of people wish they went into AI engineering, right? Schools. They went
Man,
into
listen, like this side note, what's so interesting now is how AI really is taking the society by storm, right? Just because from a lot of different aspects, but there's MBAI degrees now. Man, if they had that degree when I was getting my MBA,
you was
like it's an
going into
MBAI
yeah.
degree but right now you got to think like the pivots that not only businesses have to make, but students and universities have to make just to keep up with this technology is pivotal, right? And in order to keep up with the going on, look, we go ahead and transition into what's happening with this poaching, man. What's going on? Let us know, DJ. What's happening with all this
Yeah, man.
poaching?
So let's just jump into it. So as we know, so Meta mainly, and I guess I think Sam Altman was the one that came out on one of the shows. I'll put the link into the YouTube channel that he was on before, but he was being interviewed, and he straight out mentioned that Meta was trying to poach some of their top talent from OpenAI, and the crazy part about it was how much. So Deuce, what would you think when you just talk about a signing bonus? What would be a good signing bonus to get you curious to be like, man, maybe I do want to join another company? Like what?
Hey, for me, y'all can get me cheap. But all I'm saying is a signing bonus, man, y'all coming out, in my field, signing bonuses can range anywhere from a couple thousand to, up to the tens and twenties thousands. But when you looking at this,
100 million. Now, granted, we
a
don't know the
hundred
details, like if
million.
that's each or just some. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is very surgical, right? I'm pretty sure it's not broad
Listen,
sweeping,
it
but
doesn't matter. 100,
a
anything
hundred
over
million
whatever.
for
They
the
could
bonus.
listen. If it was 100,000 for a signing bonus, okay. Like I said, in our industry, or at least my industry, I've seen bonuses go at least anywhere from 10 up to 50,000. But they
Hmm.
talking 100 milli for sign-on bonuses.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all up front. I don't know if that's in stocks. I don't know if that's in futures. I don't know if that's in options. Whatever it is, that package of money is a lot of M's and zeros.
Yeah, so as reported by
So
Inc.com, it says reports suggest that Meta was baiting its recruiting hook with bonuses in the region of 100 million. Though later reports suggest merely millions of dollars salaries were involved, but for contrast, typical engineers' salaries, as you mentioned, Deuce, at OpenAI, now the market leading AI firm, are in the 100 to 200,000 region. So that's what they're saying that the current salaries are. So imagine you're talking about hundreds of millions or whatever the case is for a signing bonus for the other talent. But it's getting hot. Like it's been heated, but this is just like something I think that's newer, maybe on the horizon. Poaching has always happened because you and I know people that are
right.
in FANG companies, tech. They'll go from one, like if once you have it on your resume that you've worked at one of the FANG companies, you go to the other one. So that stuff happens, right? People do that, but whew,
Yeah. But
$100 million,
but
even if it was
you got
like
to think
two
about this.
million, it's crazy.
Right. 1 million. I mean, not even to be greedy. I'm just saying like 100 mil. But you got to think the race for AI dominance, and we talked about this, like the market share that OpenAI has is crazy. Because you think about this in relation to how far ahead Tesla came into the game and how far ahead they are than in EVs compared to all the other car makers. OpenAI came into the game, and they're so far ahead of the AI game. People want to know what they're doing. They're trying to push because they want to get there. Right now, this is like the next war is going to be it's digital, right? This AI war is happening on this turf, and this is what happens. You poach people, and what's going to get you out of bed for that type of work?
Yeah,
100 million, clearly. So I think this is really cool to see like these type of lures out there for. I mean, that Mark Zuckerberg, of course, if anybody has it, he got the bag to do it.
yeah,
So
man. I would definitely. You can read the whole article. We'll link it down below for sure. But I mean, the TLDR is these crazy offers that are going on, and I'm sure it's not just Meta. This is just the one that Sam Altman's interview kind of sparked, and it went a little viral because like he just
right.
mentioned Mark Zuckerberg and specifically in Meta. But I mean, like I'm sure. Like Google, I'm sure has a lot of talent, but I think all these big companies, because you're right. Like everybody's trying to go for super intelligence for ASI, like or AGI and then ASI or whatever the case is, super intelligence and all of those things. Like everybody's really betting on that and really reaching for that. And so you're seeing like some big major strides towards that. And what's crazy is that you have all these like layoffs as well in the tech industry, but then you have huge acquisitions as it comes to these things. So you can definitely see how companies are just refocusing right their assets and focus and everything like that. So
No, absolutely. And I just think that it's crazy to see. I mean, this is just, I feel like they're just throwing money at a problem. They're backing it up, but who knows what will be and what will be solved with that. It's almost scary to think what can happen with that. You get that type of money and who knows,
my
right?
question for
But
you, my question for the chat is: are you folding? That's the question. That's what I need to put it. Like, who is folding for 50 million, 100 million, just for a signing bonus, right? If this is legitimate, are
I
you saying
mean,
like, you know what, I'm gonna leave my company and I'm going, I'm taking that money regardless if you are into it? Like, I think because they're really trying to with this is going to see who like basically is just like, okay, I'm going to go. I mean, this is life changing money for individuals. 100
I
million,
mean, it is like,
that's life changing money
granted, I would say this, they've probably made money, but life-changing money, obviously there's stipulations behind it,
for
right?
sure.
Okay, you got to stay here. Who knows? Yes, absolutely. I'm a fold for that. Yeah,
You
I'm gonna
say I'm
see
folding.
what y'all need. What y'all need. Listen. If y'all need me to write a supercomputer to do whatever y'all want,
Yeah,
y'all paying me for it. I mean, within reason, and like obviously this they're not. This
for
isn't
ASI, yeah.
within reason, but we're not. As long as we're not violating my morals, my ethics, and all that, man. Come on, like you said, life altering money.
That's life changing money, man. But I do think what it is also it opens up renegotiation because Deuce, imagine, right? If you're at your current company and you get this from another company, isn't that time to go back to the drawing board, right? You probably have a lot of people like
Precisely.
saying, hey, if I'm getting
And
these type of offers, like I would want to stay here and definitely pursue this. I love what I'm working on, but also like this is an opportunity to help me like really secure my
you
family's
know what I
future.
love about this?
Yeah.
This is like LeBron money, bruh. This is what athletes get traded over. All right, they offer me 100 million to come over with them. What do y'all got for me?
Yeah,
Nothing.
man. What
Cool.
did
I'm going over. I'm trying to go win the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
man. What an SGA, I think his 74 something $1 million contract, he's gonna get paid, almost $1 million a game, basically. You know what I mean? Almost $1 million
I'm just
a
saying,
game.
like, I love to see it in this industry because it's like you got to think about like the way athletes get paid, right?
Yeah.
Man, bring that type of money over here. Hey, man, we need y'all over here on our team. Come build some stuff for us. Y'all built all this great stuff over at OpenAI. This is what we got to offer.
And
You know what
granted,
I'm
I
saying? So
mean,
it's like,
in corporate it does, but usually that's at the executive levels and everything like that.
hey,
And like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, or like CEOs and all. Yeah, so you got to think like a lot of them, like C-suite executives and all. There's a lot of this that kind of happens. But from what this makes it sounds like, it's just like boots on the ground, like people that are actually building and developing it, and in the thought leadership in this
Absolutely.
vein, like that's who they're kind of leaning towards, which is awesome. Like. And for us kind of being in there and being early, right? Like even from our side of it, just like with traditional AI, even before Gen AI really took off, like it's just really cool to kind of see, all the things going on here. Cause I just remember when it wasn't a thing. Like I remember going into different meetings and talking about like, oh, we're working on this AI, and people like were just like not trying to hear it at all. Like, and this was like in the product realm. And then now, every meeting is about like,
You
how can we
can't
use
not listen
this?
to it.
Yeah, you got town halls and people are asking like, how are we going to integrate, AI, and how we're going to do like, so yeah, that's
Yeah, nah, I agree. I think like I said, it's definitely great to see this type of stuff coming to the forefront and people get paid for it. But it is what it is. All right. What we got next on our agenda? What's next on the docket?
So next, man, so what we want to get into is Apple. Just kind of briefly talk about that. I don't want to talk about, like, everybody I think has been around enough to kind of, people talk about Siri and, and its lack of capabilities. And Apple did the big push last year about Apple Intelligence. And like, it was, everybody was kind of hyped up for it. We all know by now, at least, that they walked back some of the things just because it's taking them a little bit longer. We know they had the leadership change basically and all of those things
Right.
as well. But, I think they're kind of just readjusting their strategy, or they're kind of thinking things through as a company will do. And I'm hoping, I think we need them in the ecosystem because, like, you don't want less people in there, you want more competition, and all those things is good. So I do want Apple to have like a huge presence when it comes to that. But apparently they were considering using maybe Gemini or using Anthropic's core models, Anthropic's frontier models, to power Siri, just kind of moving away from what they were building themselves, because not many people know, but Apple did have their own foundation models that they were kind of working on, and trying to grow. So that way, eventually, how right now it connects to ChatGPT, right? So if you ask Siri something too complex, it'll say, "Do you want me to ask ChatGPT?" Like, they were eventually, I'm sure, trying to get away from that, or they may be model agnostic and just try to give you options across the gamut. So they may give you a lot of options, but just in general, just Apple, like, their strategy, and they have this huge ambition of all the things that they kind of want to get into and they want to tackle. But it just feels like they need to be out there, man, because Google has these, their models are getting smaller and smaller. They have these nano models and all these things that can be run on device, right? So that way you can have this on device models that'll be a lot faster for, drafting, writing, asking it questions or whatever the case is. And of course, you have your cloud based models or whatever for, anything big and more complex. But that's kind of my take. What is your take on it? What do you kind of feel about all that?
So my whole thing is Apple has really, everyone's been kind of holding their breath to see what they do with AI features that they've kind of promised and been touting for a really long time, right? Just, and it's kind of, for me, more of a horse and pony show, right? They've been touting all these features and how great their AI was, only for it to really kind of fall flat, in my opinion. And I think they realized that and realized how far behind they were in this quote unquote AI race, right? And I think they did, in my opinion, the right thing from a business perspective during WWDC and, kind of trying to double down on more of their hardware. And that's what they do well. And then revamping some of their software and OS, right? That is what they do well. So I think that, some of those features and kind of what they're trying to pivot into is going to work best from them from a business model perspective, just because I think they're so far behind in this race. And I don't know if it's worth them trying to catch up, because there's a lot of other things that they can catch up on that, we talked about previously, like with their headgear, the Apple Vision Pro goggles, right? That's something that they need to catch up on too. So I think them focusing and maybe revamping Siri into more contextual is definitely going to help. But I just know Apple, they got to pick up the ball somewhere in order for them to be still competitive in this realm, right?
Yeah, Apple is really, really good with hardware, as we know, right? Like, people love the phones, they love the tablets, they love the iPads, the MacBook Pros, and all those things, right? MacBooks, and even people that have the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah. So Apple Vision Pros.
Yeah.
So people that I know that have used it, I've used it before. It's really nice. It's solid tech, right? I didn't purchase one because it's just that price on it. Like, I'm just like, I don't know if that weighs the benefit of me using it so much to, like, where it would justify that.
It's a lot. It's not just that, it's the price, it's the usability, the wearability. There's so much that comes with it, right? It's like a pack you got to wear, it's this headpiece.
And you see Meta's direction with that, with their
That's
glasses,
what I'm
right?
saying,
Their screen
compared
here. Yeah,
to
I mean, and then there's
the
pros and
Meta
cons.
Ray-Bans,
Yeah,
what I'm saying? It's like night and day difference. And then there's no telling, once the first Android XR device drops to the public, that could change the game for, those wearable devices as well. And ain't no telling what OpenAI and Johnny Ive's company is going to come out
With
with.
the
So,
hardware, yeah, I'm going to be super interested to see what that looks like when it hits the market because, he's well known for when he releases, hardware products. And I'm sure, there's been some flops and everything like that, but I'm just
yes, of
referencing everything
course.
that I've known that he's been a part of, like the original iPhone
Yes.
and, some of their other lineup at Apple. I mean, just like solid products. So either way, the TLDR is we all know just as a community. If you don't know, Apple, a lot of people, like if you use Siri, a lot of us in North America, like if you're using Siri, you just know that it lags behind the other platforms that are out there right now. Like, and the one thing that concerns me is that Android being like you know, like I think globally most people are on Android, right, as a phone, and then now they have all these Google like Gemini models that they can kind of take advantage of on all those devices. So it's like, man, now Android's hardware is getting a little bit better as well. So like if you have hardware, you have smart AI, it's going to be contextual, and they keep building out these features. And even though iPhone people love it, some people in the security realm, they think they're it's more secure and just all of these things. So there is kind of that, and they have the walled garden. A lot of people are just so deep in the Apple ecosystem, but for their shareholders, like it's something that's definitely going to need a pivot. But I think that they do need their own. When Apple does get their stuff together, they do execute well. So I'm hoping that they can get what they need to together and have like their own models and basically have those available as well, and not just necessarily use other companies frontier models, but
So I have a long-standing gripe with Apple and how they use some of that technology because they always seem to be behind the curve, but like package it in a way where it has a nice ribbon and bow. And like I said, it's a horse and pony show. Horse and pony, and like they present it to the Apple fans and they love it, right? They think it's great. But once you really kind of take a peek under the covers, it's like you guys really pieced together different parts from different companies. You guys really took pieces that has been out on different platforms, a few years or whatever, right? I'm just saying, and it's one of those things. It's like Apple, like I said, they're great at what they do, and we know that very well is that hardware and that software for their systems, like their whole ecosystem. I love it, but some of the tangibles for their technology, especially even Siri and what they plan to do with Siri, it's a little janky. And let's not forget, like, remember when the first iPhone came out, it did not have MMS multimedia messaging, right? You had to email pictures on your iPhone. And but the thing is, what's crazy about that is MMS was around for a while
yeah,
on
no, it
flip
was
phones,
around, yeah, but
know what
that
I'm
was yeah.
saying? So
And who
it
knows,
was
like
like
what they
Apple,
were, like yeah, I do remember that because then they came out with like the next
I'm gonna tell you, it didn't come out until the Apple 3GS.
3GS. Yep, I had one of
Like
those.
not yeah. So that's a couple iPhones away from that first one. Like I said, great phone, and it was just like the way they packaged it was so great and beautiful. But like I said, take a peek under the covers. Apple has been like this for a long time as a company, and I mean, like I said, I like some of the stuff they do. What they do well, they do well. But also, when you look at some of the things, them falling behind in the AI stuff, they're not going to be able to catch up.
But what I'm hearing,
I don't think so.
what I know, and what I feel like from my side, and nobody that I've heard just really, Apple's big on privacy, and I think the thing is just like we know in the AI space, you need all this data, and they would need copious amounts of user data and all this, and they've always been like, we anonymize everything, and we're just not like big on collecting all your data and all this. And now, granted, there's been other reports on other things, but that's just kind of like where I think some of that's why they try to do what is Apple Secure Cloud or something along that when they were talking about their models and everything. Like they're so big on that privacy and security, which most users love. Like if you talk from anybody who's from the information security or cybersecurity information assurance background, all of them, they swear by, iOS is their platform of choice when it comes to their mobile devices, and a lot of consumers like that as well when it comes to privacy. So, but I think that's kind of also what's handicapped them a little bit, if that, for lack of a better word, to really jump in a little bit early into this space. And maybe it was just, a miss. They were trying to do the Apple Car as well, which I really would have wished that they rolled that out. An Apple and or Google native car, EV, something like that, man, I just think would do with the native technology in there. I'll jump off of that. I'll digress because we can talk about that another day. But I'm just
Well, you know what they say. You know what they say about the Apple Car, right? It has no windows.
that's no winner. Wow. Wow.
All
Uh-huh. That's
right.
your dad
Well,
joke
look,
talking about you early,
that
right?
was my dad joke of the day, right?
That's the dad joke of the day. I mean, but
But
yeah.
listen, I will say this, jumping back into some of the things. So in this article, we're talking about, the more contextual series that's planning to come, more conversational LLM based Siri, but it's projected or expected for them to release early 2026. In my opinion, is a really long way off. So much can change that by the time early 20, like we've already
We'll
talked
have
about
Chat
how
GPT
fast AI
5
is
by
moving.
then. We'll have, you
You
know
know
what I
what I'm
mean?
saying?
Like, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like AI is moving too fast for you to be like, oh, we're expected to release this in early 2026. And this is at this point, whenever this article came out, this is still Q2 2025. If you're not ready to release that back Q3, early Q4 2025, you're behind the curve. I hate to say, like, you're not going to be able to keep it because by the time they release it, you guys should already be on version two by then. You know what I mean?
I
But
mean, it's
anyway, I
interesting.
digress.
Yeah, yeah. You know how it is when it comes to technology, though, man. Releasing, like, going into those meetings where we have to prioritize everything and they're going in there and they're kind of stacking all the things. Like, it's just like those are bigger conversations. And like this one, really, like you were saying, in this race, when it comes to AI, I don't know if Apple's like all out for the ASI, AGI, like, trying to be the top dog in that. But I do think that they want for their shareholders, for their users to have like solid, secure AI that they can leverage on all of their devices. Like they
I
really want to push
agree.
between Apple Intelligence and. But anyway,
I agree, but it ain't going to be nothing that we see on the leaderboards of how things work. And
yeah,
especially with them trying to do the partnership with ChatGPT, I don't think it's going to work.
yeah, man, they have that partnership, and apparently, like I was saying before, Gemini, maybe Anthropic, they were thinking about just swapping out the core of Siri. But we'll bring back more of that as that kind of unfolds a little bit more to keep us moving. One thing I want to get into as we go back to talking about Apple, the Apple Car, which I think would just be awesome. In a Google electric vehicle, which is native, have everything with Google in there. And I know they have because they have the Waymo stuff going on, and I think they bought some Jaguar I-Paces or whatever. But if they had their own EVs, but anyway, Tesla themselves, I wanted to hop over to there real quick is because they are bringing Grok to Teslas, which I think will be awesome. So that might be one of the first vehicles that have like, one of these new kind of frontier models available. And Deuce, I want to get your take on that because what if you could say, hey, I want to go to this mall, but I want to go to, I want Starbucks and just let me, take me to the closest Starbucks next to this mall, and it navigates like the whole thing. Or if you're going out of town and you say, I want to stop at these places and it adds all the stops, like it opens up a lot more. Or just like, hey, open my trunk, do this. A lot of those things, man. Like, and I'm not exactly sure what all will be capable as it launches, but let's get into that a little bit. What excites you about Tesla bringing Grok to its vehicle lineup?
So I'm gonna say this. It seems really, really cool, but also, I mean, I'm going to play the flip side. I know you love this, but it seems kind of scary to me, like how fast we are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I say we are here, I'm talking about our robot. We are here, bro. I'm talking. What was that one movie? It was with Mahershala Ali. It was on Netflix. It was like was it something about Monday? The Teslas were crashing,
Oh,
driving themselves and
I know
crashing.
it was
I
on
forget the
Netflix.
movie.
It was on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, but my thing is this. Like I said, it seems cool, but it's getting a little real out here. Scary. Conversational AI to integrated into the vehicles.
Yeah.
It seems very cool, but also I'm very hesitant. Like I'm like,
I mean,
you
because
know,
I mean, okay, well, if what was going to happen in that movie, and it was like something tomorrow, right? The day after tomorrow, some I can't
yeah,
remember what it was exactly, but
not the day after
it's
tomorrow, but yeah,
fine. Hey, we'll drop it in the description. But I do remember that movie that was on Netflix. But that I don't think that's going to have anything to do with like driving. Like if they're going to take that over and they're going to have it where like they can have them driving. But they also did that in one of the Fast and Furious. Maybe one or two of those ago, they had all those like they were gas powered cars. And they were all taken over as well autonomously, but either way, from Tesla, I think it's cool because so apparently what they're going to have is what you can see here is they'll have a drop down to where you can choose different voices. You can also choose kind of the mode. So apparently you can choose like if it's unfiltered, like the a typical kind of raw mode itself, like that. Language tutor, therapist, storytelling. There's like a kids version of Grok or whatever. And so I guess when you're interfacing it, it'll be a little softer, or it'll tell stories, it'll be more conversational and everything like that, which would be pretty cool. But just for me, what I'm thinking is just like having that ability to have it have good context. Like if I say, hey, like if you go to a road trip and you say you want to stop at a few places, and it automatically just kind of routing that for you. Or if you tell it the supercharger that you prefer to go to, I think it's cool. And not just Tesla. Like I think this tech in any car, right? Like I'm not just like, oh, it's got to be Tesla. Like it's just like any of these manufacturers, right? Like I can't wait till GM does it to, these other people. Like when they have this type of smarts in the vehicle, I think that'll be really
Leave the World Behind was the movie.
okay. Okay, leave the world behind. We were kind of
But
close.
I mean, I say all that to say, I mean, like I said, on the flip side, the technology seems very sweet. I think it's extremely innovative, and of course, who better to try it than Tesla and using Grok, right? Because I just think, and apparently so, and some Tesla hackers have said it's already present in some recent, models, functional models that it's just enabled two-way switch behind a server switch that you can already enable it. So it's interesting, like I said, very interesting to see how it's going to work.
That's funny that they have kids mode on. So
Of
or
course, right?
NSFW mode. Like what's like that's wild, man. Getting in somebody's car.
Wild. I mean, it definitely talk. I guess just as far as how it talks, but obviously similar to how it behaves right now on mobile devices, it's going to behave with the car. And I wonder how deeply integrated it will get to the car, like giving you updates and statuses on when you need your next battery change, when the tread on your tire is going to go, type of thing.
Yeah,
That'll be
they were looking
interesting to
into something
see.
like that as well. I think there were some patents that they were researching. And once again, I don't know if that'll connect with this. It was going to be it's like its own sensor that looks at the tire and checks on the tread and
Yeah,
gives you
so
an
it'll be
update.
interesting how they use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it gets used.
But apparently,
So
you
I
will need a
think,
Grok account. Like so, like as it kind of depicts here, like you'll need
of
a
course,
Grok
I mean,
account through X, and then that way you kind of use your QR code, link it, and then that way. So I guess if you pay for the upgraded version of Grok, you'll have access to that. I don't know how limits will work or anything like that. That'll be kind of curious. I know it sounds like from what everybody's saying is that you will need their premium connectivity plan, which is like the $9.99 I think a month, or you can pay for it annually for it to work. And but interestingly enough, like you can also use your phone's Wi-Fi. So I don't know if that will work. It sounds like I think they're going to want you to go with premium connectivity to enable this. But I'm bullish on it. I can't wait to see like how it works in action. Tesla, because the thing is like once they do it, I know other manufacturers will do it, and I think
hey, who knows? It might already be on your latest update.
the background basically, right? So they're waiting for that to be enabled on the latest software update. But I think I think it's interesting because I mean, like if you're driving now, like you don't want to be thinking about a lot of different things. You really want to be focused on the road. Definitely when you have younger drivers and everything like that, as they kind of get on the road, you just want them to really be able to be safe and focused. So I think saying like just talking to a car versus having to kind of touch on the screens and everything like that. I would think that this would make this a lot better, if it's as performant as we'd hope it would be. I mean, Grok is, from what I've seen and used it for, it's pretty solid as well. And I believe, like on the LLM arena, like it's pretty high up there as well for the latest version that they had. But yeah, man. So you using it, not using it, you want it in your car or not, or you think your car's going to like you do?
I'm not using it.
You're not.
Look, look, if it's in my car, I need it to be out for at least 5 years before I use it.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
I'm not
What
using it,
about
man.
okay, so right now in the vehicle's full self-driving supervised version. You're not using that either?
I don't know. Look, I'm,
Man,
I need. I'm not.
every day.
Listen,
Every
I'm
day.
okay. Okay, I'll say this. I don't have a Tesla, so I'm not comfortable with it yet. Like, give me some. If I, when if I get a Tesla, I'm on the fence. But give me some time to get comfortable, and I don't know how long that would take. Give me some time to get comfortable because, like, you've been a Tesla
Yeah,
advocate for years now,
yeah.
and so
I mean, like,
you
and let me get to
you
like,
just
I love the vehicle. I love the technology, right? So I'm a huge tech fan of like innovation in vehicles. So I just want to make that clear. Like, I'm not necessarily like where I'm like, have all the Tesla gear on and all this other stuff, but I love technology. So Chevy Super
right.
Cruise really works good on its pre-mapped highways. I just love like I can't wait till we get more. I was even looking at some of the vehicles being manufactured out of China, like, and we'll talk about those. But Huawei, apparently, they partnered with a manufacturer that's out there, and their assisted driver AS, I forgot the abbreviation for it, but their full self driving equivalent out there is supposed to be really solid. And a lot of them they use lidar, right? So remember, Tesla's hyper focused on cameras, using computer vision, and all those other things, which they're leaner and they can scale it more. Other manufacturers are all about lidar because that just more redundancy and all of those things and safety. So we'll talk deeper about those things, but I'm just a fan of technology. So for me, I can't wait till I can get in a car and just tell it to take me somewhere or whatever, and not really have to worry about the driving. You know what I mean? Because imagine a commute to work like back in the day. We put so many hours as growing up in our generation. The next generation probably not going to have to worry about the same things, but you had to focus. You had a early morning meeting. You're trying to get there on time, and then get there to try to prepare for it. So there's just a lot. I just think it'd be more beneficial.
Like I said, I'm not bullish on it yet. I'm very skeptical. Look, let us know what you guys will
Yeah,
feel.
let us
Like,
know.
if you guys have a Tesla or want a Tesla, are you guys interested in using Grok when it comes out? Are you guys going to use it, not use it? Let us know in the chat what you guys think, how you guys feel about it.
And let us know if you've also used not only Tesla's full self driving, but Chevy's Super Cruise and Ford, I think Blue Cruise is something. I can't think of Ford's, but a lot of these manufacturers here in the state, they have like something that they have. Let us know which one that you've used. And I've heard Mercedes is also good with their, what they have on the highway. And most of that's highway, but Tesla can take you from your driveway all the way over to wherever you're going. So I just can't wait till all the manufacturers have something that's out there and it's super solid and super safe, because then it's more about the vehicle that you want to drive versus the tech. And for me, the reason I went early on into Teslas is because like they just had the best tech that was out there, super simple. And so, I thought that was pretty cool. But now there's definitely more and more coming, and maybe those vehicles from China will make those ways over, because Deuce, I think you might end off in one of those. Remember the one I sent you that had that minivan that had literally everything in there?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So if y'all haven't checked those
yeah.
out,
Well, I don't know. We'll
comments,
see.
take a look at some of those as well, man. Those are nice.
We'll see. But I mean, outside of that, man, like let us know your thoughts on some of these things we discussed today, and we really want to know some of your feedback, right? But as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.